Okay, guys, get in here. It's happening. Welcome to my live vlog. This is Conservative Mama, Rachel, and I am so excited. So I'm not going to take long doing this intro because I'm jittery and I'm kind of nervous. I'm so excited to have Katie Hopkins joining us. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I can honestly say I don't know any woman that's more fearless than Katie, especially in these times that we are living in. This woman has faced extreme adversity, all the way from dealing with health issues to death threats, to job loss, lawsuits, all because she loves freedom and she's speaking up for freedom. And you would think that something like this would just shut you down, right? Like at some point you just crawl in a hole and you're like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm done. And Katie's still going. She's still going. She's still speaking up. And she is in America as we speak. She's in my home state of Colorado, and I'm thrilled to have her on. I'm going to bring her on here. I'm trying to learn how to do all this stuff. Oh, there she is. Hello. Katie, welcome. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. I can hear you perfectly. And okay. I'm in a hotel and we're relying on hotel Wi-Fi. So let's see how we go. But yeah, all great with me. And I'm thrilled to be here in Colorado.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you on. And I'm so just like, I don't have a lot of people that I like truly admire. Like I'm a big fan of Trump. People know that, but people like you're just, especially right now. I mean, it's getting crazy out there, Katie. It's, we saw Europe kind of succumb to like this complete global elite overreach. And they just kind of like seem like they kind of cowered to it. And now it's coming for America. And a lot of us are like, are we going to do anything? Like, what point do you say, okay, no more? And you have been warning America for years. You've been speaking out saying, don't become Britain, don't. Yes. And what are your thoughts right now? Like, what are you thinking?
Yes. And so I think there's sort of two sides to this. One side is clearly these are dark times. Clearly, these are difficult times. I mean, I broke back into America for the installation of Biden in DC. I was there to watch that happen. And that's something none of us ever wanted to see, nor did we think we would see. And we saw it for obvious reasons because it wasn't legitimately done. But I think as a respectful foreigner and a respectful outsider, and recognizing that you chased our British asses out of your country once before, glorious things about coming here from the craziness of my country too, is that this is still, you guys can't necessarily see it of yourselves, but this is still so the land of the free. I know things are hard right now, and I know we have to endure through them, and we will prevail. But you have this, Constitution, hardly is imprinted into your souls, like in your being, in your fiber. You have a constitution. And what makes me the happiest of all is that every time it's not directly cussing, but it sort of is. Every time you piss off a Republican or a patriot, they go and buy another weapon. And that gives me enormous faith in this great country of yours. And I think one of the brilliant things about difficult times is it makes people pull back to the values that you hold on to. So this is no longer about politics or anything. This is about faith, and this is about family, and this is about freedom. And those are the three things we will die on our crosses for.
Yes. And I think like you said, you mentioned faith, because I think a lot of people are like, for me, I feel like I'm praying more and I'm like, God, what is happening right now? But in a way, like, I kind of feel like it's supposed to happen. And I've been telling the people that follow me, like, often it has to get a little darker for people to see the light. And I think that it's getting darker, clearly, but I think more people are starting to wake up. Especially I want to get your thoughts on this vaccine passport that we're hearing a lot about, because that's kind of buzzing around. A lot of people are very upset with that. What are your thoughts on that right now?
Yes. So I agree with you. We have to get pushed to the darkness. What the push to the darkness does is it brings people to the church. You know, pastors that have kept their doors open now running 3 or 4 or 5 services a day because they simply can't fit everybody in. So there's that. The vaccine passport, this is my personal opinion. I don't agree with the vaccine. I will never have the vaccine. I don't know what's in it, and I don't want to know, but I will never have it. There is no such thing as a vaccine passport. It's a fabrication. It's an illusion. We shouldn't be having it. In the UK, they're trying to rebadge it as the freedom certificate. And you know how this works. You know, illegals become undocumented, become dreamers. And now a vaccination mandate has become a freedom passport. As soon as you hear this language being used against us, we know we're losing something. We don't need a vaccine passport. I just heard about a football stadium, I think in your great country, that is going to have a special stand for people that have been vaccinated. You know, history has taught us well. You start separating people like this. My kids at their school are supposed to test every single day. So 5 tests every single morning before they're allowed to school. And if you don't do it, your kid has to wear a badge to say that they are unclean. It doesn't say unclean, but you take my point. Historically referencing, you now have to wear a badge if you're one.
Yeah, it's like a yellow star. I mean, this is insane. And just how they separate. I mean, I'm not. And people were like, "Oh, Rachel, you're being dramatic." But we saw this happen in the 1930s with the Jewish population in World War II. They were separated, and once you start separating a population, just like 1960s in America, 1950s in America, race, segregation. Once you start doing that, you're dividing us as a nation, as a country, as a people, and you're going to start to see insanity take place.
Take that further forward. So now you have people wearing badges to separate them. Now you have a stand. These are the good people, and the rest of you are the selfish ones. And then you start to have this idea that if your neighbors see, because in the UK, we're not allowed more than 7 miles from our home address. It is illegal to leave your country. It's illegal to leave the country in the UK. It is illegal to go on holiday in the UK. People are arrested for sitting in their cars on their driveway. And so now, you know, you start to think about, well, neighbors are now reporting on neighbors. So we have neighbors saying, I just saw 6 people going into Mrs. Smith at number 24, and the police come around. So once you start badging people with an unclean badge, and then you have neighbors reporting on neighbors, you know, how far are we from those historical moments?
Right. And we just had Biden, I think it was yesterday, say, you know, you're not patriotic if you don't wear a mask, or it's patriotic to wear a mask. But patriotism is for a love of country. And America was founded on freedom. So a true patriot is somebody that's advocating for freedom. And right now, so I'm like, what, how can you, that's a complete contradiction, because that's a force. We're seeing force over freedom take place. We're seeing it all across the globe. And I'm wondering, is there going to be resistance here in America? Are you seeing any resistance in England? Is there any resistance taking place there?
So there's insufficient resistance in England. And I know my American family here, and I mean that in the whole of America that I consider my family. You know, one of our big disappointments, I think the thing that's hurt our hearts has been the way people have been willing to comply. One of the things that's so hard when I look to my country and I see people bending down and masking and doing what they're told, that hurts my heart, because I want to say, where is the fight in you guys? Come on. And you can't do that every day of your life. I know that. You can't go to Trader Joe's and go, right, here I go. The fight begins here. It doesn't work like that, and I know that. But I think watching people be so compliant has hurt our hearts. If I can give you an example, and this is not a word of an exaggeration, once you get socialized healthcare, I know they're pushing it so hard here, and there's a reason for that. Because once you get something like a global pandemic and the healthcare is under the control of the state as well, now we can deny you healthcare if you don't comply. And we had a thing on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock in the UK. The government, Boris Johnson, the potato in a wig, came out and he said, at 8 o'clock, we're going to clap at the sky for our socialized healthcare system, and British people did it, and they filmed themselves doing it, clapping at the sky in support of socialized healthcare. Like,
wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
so that's the compliance bit that I hate, but the resistance is coming. So we had 100,000 people march against lockdown the other day. I feel it in terms of getting in touch with me saying, we found a place where, like, your lovely followers here, they can find each other and see each other and realize they're not alone. And that's one of the great things about having venues here. 250 people last night. They walk in, maybe with a visor thingy on, maybe with a mask on. They look around and just go, oh, thank God. And you see their little shoulders go down. You know, a lot of the ladies and some gentlemen have just been crying because they see their fellow patriots. They suddenly realize they're not alone, and they feel like they can breathe again. I don't just mean in the physical sense, but in the, you know, like a spiritual sense.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing right now really matters. And that's why all of your followers really matter, because we are going to be the resistance to this. We will be the fight back.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I went to Florida a couple weeks ago, and I mean, you being in Colorado, you can tell when you're in like a slightly more liberal place than you are a conservative place. But just when I went to Florida, it was like, oh my gosh, nobody was wearing masks. You're seeing people smile. And like, I wanted everyone to be my best friend. It was like, oh my gosh, these are my people. I love you guys. And so I totally agree with that. Like, there is more, and it's encouraging when you see that. Like, even if you're out like in a store and you see somebody else without a mask on, there's like that connection there. Like, I got you.
That's it.
I know where you stand.
What can you do, Katie? What can we do?
Yes.
That's absolutely what you can do. So every time you go out and about, doesn't matter if you've got your mask on or not, or if you just pull it down because you're trying to get your groceries done and we don't want to fight every day, just by you saying to one other person, hi, how are you doing? Or how you doing? I hope you're doing okay. By you being the one that just shows one person that you care enough to look at them, to speak to them, you could be the difference to their day. And that's part of what we're trying to do. You know, as I go about the place, how are you doing? Great. How are you doing? We need to lift each other up, because we need to hold on to each other. I also think, I'm just looking for something. Forgive me running around. Hold on.
No, go ahead.
There are ways. Right. So there are ways. I'm not allowed weapons in my country.
Okay.
This is my glasses case. So, and it's looking a bit tatty. I need a new sticker. But I have this because then if I'm in a place where they say I need to have a mask on, I'm also still able to indicate that I do not agree with this. I do not. I'm going to be part of the resistance. So
what does that say? Because what does it say there, Katie, on that?
Guns live.
Yes.
I'm trying to make it into a picture there. So all I'm trying to say is we can also, masks are an indicator of state control. You can also indicate that, you know, they can stick that. Right. So I'm excited for our side, because we're building strength and depth. And I know there has never been such a big weapons cache in America in modern history, because you cannot buy a weapon, you cannot buy ammunition, and that's because Americans have it put away in their homes for when the day comes.
Right. I love that you mentioned guns here, because I've got some liberal friends that I know that are saying, you know, especially after this recent shooting in Boulder, Europe doesn't have, you know, mass shootings. We need to be like Europe. We need to get rid of our guns. What are your thoughts on them? What would you say to those people?
I would say, what absolute nonsense. We have regular gun shootouts. We had a drive-by shooting the other day, and if they don't use a gun, they use a knife. We have the most stabbings of any city on the planet. Young kids, 16, 14, 12-year-olds, stabbed to death in the street with these sort of, like Chicago, basically, gang.
Right.
So that's a load of old tosh. Also, you need to be able to defend yourself. You know, I have been a target for a jihadi beheading. I had a police unit come to my home in the night and rig it up with panic alarms. My house phone, they put in boxes. They told me that if someone comes through my door, I'm to run to the box and shake it, and the police will come. Despite being the imminent threat of targeting for beheading, I had nothing to defend my children with. Every American knows. I spoke to a lady in the Trump Hotel when I was there last, and just before the election, and she's from Portland, and she was a grandmother, And she said to me, I say to them, come on my land. And this is when we thought our suburbs were going to be attacked by Black Lives Matter once Trump had won. She went, they'll come to my land, but I tell you, they will not leave my property. And that was it. She's all in. And I know that's the truth of so many Americans. Push Americans to a certain point, and they don't care what the consequence will be for them. Whoever's attacking their family will not leave your homes or your lawn.
Right. And we have to be able to protect ourselves. And I thank God for our Second Amendment here in this country, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's, it's for hunting, or it's when you had a musket and we don't really need it anymore. It's to check your government. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think like often if you have no way to check your government, they'll keep taking ground. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the more power you give to an entity, the more they're going to want. So you give them, hey, okay, we'll give you this, this weapon, or we'll comply with this amount of, magazine, bullets or whatever. And then they'll want more. They keep taking. And I'm kind of amazed that a lot of people don't get that. I'm like, you give ground, they're going to keep taking ground.
Yeah. But I think what's important, this is the messaging we're being shown, right? We're being shown, oh, look, everyone's complying. Oh, look at these good people queuing in a line to hand their weapons in. Oh, look, this is the clients. But actually, the resistance is what you're not being shown. And there's a lot of it. I know great New Zealanders who handed in a few of their old weapons that don't work anymore, but the ones they've kept are their absolute favorites. I know people in America who are working hard to get weapons that can't be traced, and I support them as well, actually. But I think most importantly for me is that, I saw it at the MAGA rallies in Beverly Hills, which seems unlikely. People were coming to those rallies not because they had started supporting Trump, because they'd come to the rally and realized that this was it was more like, any of you will know, more like a festival. Everybody just loving each other, being so supportive. Even on the 6th of January in DC, that rally that happened, there were two separate events, the rally and then what happened at the Capitol building. The rally was just a day of absolute, delight. And as an example of that, there was a police officer had left his motorbike in amongst the crowd somehow. The crowd were just politely going round it, looking after each other, helping. That's who we are. Our side is this side that simply wants the best for each other, whatever your personal choices are.
Right.
And I think that's really such a great thing for us. Yeah, what we're being fed negativity isn't the truth of our side.
Right. And I think just like that Bible scripture that iron sharpens iron, I think it's vital for us to encourage one another and to be around. That's why they try to shut down these rallies, because they don't want you, they want you feeling alone. And there's a lot of people out there right now. I get messaged all the time. Oh, Rachel, what do we do? This doesn't look good. Democrats control everything. Oh, this. And they want you to feel defeated. Yes. Like they want you to feel isolated. They want you to feel like nobody, you're all alone. That's why the big tech censoring conservatives, censoring you, taking you off Twitter. They want you to slowly feel like there's no one else like you that thinks like you. Yeah. And that's just a straight up lie.
Absolutely a lie. And that's true. California's all Democrat. Absolute rubbish. Some of the staunchest, strongest conservatives I know are in California. And so what I'm just getting some feedback of my own voice, which is a little distressing.
Yeah, that's weird.
What I know is that we are so many, and that's why people walking into these venues, it's just so lovely, because you see them being reassured that we're so many. And I personally believe, I'm a huge supporter of law and order, as all good patriots are. But once you have ridiculous politicians making up nonsense rules, I feel no moral obligation to follow them. And it's the reason I'm currently an illegal immigrant in your country, effectively, because British people are banned from America and I'm not allowed to leave the UK. So I went on in here. I spent 22 days in Mexico City to make my break back into your country, because I believe I need to set an example that the time for asking permission is over, and I don't intend to comply with laws that make no sense. And what is the worst they can do to me? There's nothing they can do to me, because they can't take away who I am. So ultimately, we find personal freedom by knowing who we are, what we're about. So, and when I eventually got to a border here and managed to come on in, the border force guy, your Home Office, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, says, welcome home. And, you know, that gets me every time. So I'm by the luggage, what do you call that thing? The baggage carousel?
The baggage claim, yeah.
Right. So now I'm in tears because he's just been really sweet to me and it's been a bit of a journey. And then someone comes up to me and says, oh, have you lost your luggage? And I was like, no. This isn't about losing luggage. I've come back to your country. This is the greatest country on the planet. And I'm doing it. They're like, oh, I thought you just lost your bag.
Yeah.
So,
now,
yours is the greatest country still on earth. It really is.
Thank you. And I think a lot of people don't understand what we have. And we constantly use this analogy, like no one's escaping America to get to Cuba or to some other socialist country. They're escaping socialist countries to get here because we do still have freedom and we do still have the Constitution. Thank God for that. And we still have each other. Exactly. Yes. And so making sure you have those connections, making sure that you're constantly talking, even if I would encourage people just to form your own little group. I mean, I know a couple of women that have literally just said, okay, come to my house. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk politics for a couple hours. We're going to talk about this country for a couple hours. And every time I attend an event like that, I leave like, okay, we got this. We're going to make it. So it's so important to do that.
It's, you know, ours is, I believe, what we need to go to. One of the problems we have, as you will know very well, Rachel, is there is a lot of egos, particularly, I don't want to make this, you know, male, female, but there's a lot of egos, a lot of people who want the stage for themselves. Frankly, I know I'm here talking, but I don't care about the big guys or the big names or the whomever is on a CPAC stage. What matters so much more to me and where I'm ordinary is the people that are actually making stuff happen, because it isn't going to be the big boys that fight this fight. Yeah. It's going to be us at grassroots. It's going to be the 2.2 million that signed the petition to Newsom. Yep. It's going to be turn up, you know, to an event. It's going to be the people on the Conservative Republican ladies Facebook group. We're the ones that are going to make this happen. And so we don't have to agree on anything. That was something that was like, they totally tried to sell that to us. Like, you have to agree to be in the same room. No, we can disagree, but we can the fact that we've got different opinions, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to agree because it's about values, faith, family, freedom. We can agree on those things, I'm pretty sure.
Right. And having a united front, because the one thing I do recognize that the Democrats do is, you know, and I love conservatism, but, you know, and it's about, you know, the individual rights, but sometimes like the individual is like, I want my own star, you know, and you kind of are like, you know, it's like a lot of this, like, okay, look at me, instead of saying, okay, I don't care if you look at me or not. We've got a big fight. Goliath is on the field. We need to take him down. I don't care who takes the final shot, but we got to get this done. And I think that that's what Democrats kind of thrive at, is that unification. And I really pray to God that conservatives come around and say, I don't need the spotlight. I don't need, you know, the promo. I need to win back America and fight for freedom. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's such the thing. And that's why, you know, if I'm doing talk, I'm not doing talks in just DC in the biggest Marriott someone can find, because it's easy for me. You know, I want to be schlepping I've been on Greyhound buses, like other Republicans are like, you did what? You got on a what? A bus? I want to be schlepping to places that no one goes, because that's our people. You know, this idea that everybody always has to travel to CPAC. Everybody always has to travel to no. Speakers need to get off their ass. They need to stop giving people the same speech that they've learned off by heart and they're not really connecting with.
Right.
And they need to get out and make an effort to get to the places that people really need us. And I think that's where you're doing a lovely job of that. We need to be joining up. And I would ask your audience, anytime you start reading something or listening to someone who's being unkind or maybe a little bit mean about someone on our side, I'd ask you to just don't give them your eyeballs.
Right.
And don't give them your ears. It doesn't matter. Maybe they did something that annoyed the Jewish lobby, or maybe they did something that annoyed lobby. It doesn't matter. We need to have some discipline. We need to hold the line. I have a military background, and we need to keep our fights into the family home. Shut that, like we do with our family, shut the front door, and then I will lose my mind with my children. But when I step out, I will be a mother who is in control.
Totally. Of course.
That's what the family to start doing. And I don't like it when we attack our own side.
No.
There's too much.
No, yeah. And the goal is to divide and conquer, right? So if you can start dividing conservatives against conservatives or Republicans against conservatives, or, then they're taking back ground that belongs to us. Also, something that I absolutely love that I see you do, and I would love to see more conservatives doing, is using comedy, using satire, using emotion to reach that middle. Because, I've been preaching this. I started in 2012. I have an acting background. I've been preaching, like, conservatives were always about facts and statistics and data and all this stuff. But most people are moved on emotion. Most people are moved on feeling, and whether that's right or wrong doesn't matter. We can't argue that. We just have to accept it. They're moved on feeling, and we have to reach them through feelings. And I love that I've watched some of your skits. They're absolutely hilarious. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to do something with you at some point. But you use comedy, and that reaches that middle, because we're talking lots of times we're talking to just our the same circle. It's like conservatives talking to conservatives. That's not going to win the game, right? We got to go out and get that middle, and that middle is emotion. So
yes, that's so smart, and I honestly think as well, it takes someone who feels that. I think being a mum helps actually, because you feel like, okay, I need to work this a different way. I need to find my path a different way. I'm known as the biggest bitch in Britain. So I can be tough, I'm mean and harsh. I'm hated in my own country. There's no way I'd be allowed to speak in my country. They just torch the venue tomorrow. But what I've found is that with humor and with comedy, we can definitely start pulling people in who wouldn't otherwise be part of our family. And so I have 2 nights proper stand-up in LA on the 12th and 13th at the Lux Hotel. A guy just got in touch to say he's flying from New York to be there, love him, and we are just going to laugh. Yes. I mean, it is fairly ungodly at times. It is a little rude. It involves me, physically reenacting some things, but we are just going to laugh because we need to. Yes. And, finding that most of it is just laughing at me, at me and my huge failings. But when we laugh together, a lady left last night. She said, I have not laughed that hard as long as I remember. And I know then we're winning because we're funny. Cats aren't funny. It's why they look so miserable all the time. They don't know what funny is. No. And that's a perfect example. They're not funny. And you could just look at Saturday Night Live, which I used to love. Like, I grew up watching Saturday Night Live, absolutely loved it. But once they started pushing an agenda, then it became not funny, and there was a huge disconnect that takes place. I think once you start doing that, then you're losing a huge part of the audience, because I often play a liberal, and you have to have some kind, and I shouldn't even say liberal anymore, a leftist. You have to have some kind of empathy for the character you play. Like, whether you have some kind of why they think the way they think. So you have to get in their head. And I think that, in order for us to move the needle, we have to be able to cause somebody that's kind of on that fence, I don't know. And then they recognize something in that character you play. They recognize something in that emotion, even if it's emotional speech or laughter or whatever, and that pulls them in. And then once they're pulled in, then you can start to really influence them. But it's initially through emotion. And I love that you do that, because even people, I guarantee you, people that hate you, they still follow you. They still like your humor. They're still entertained. And that's what we need, though. We need those people engaging with us. That's why I keep a lot of the trolls on here, because I'm like, hey, you're here. At least you're here and you're listening to what I'm saying. Whether you agree or not, at least you're here, because a lot of people won't even show up and listen. So, yeah, I think that's right. I also think actually a really strange thing has happened. So I'm the biggest bitch in Britain. I'm hated, la, la, la. But weirdly, because of COVID, a lot of people, having now been locked down, see what the state has done to them, see that the British government has absolutely crucified our nation. They're kind of coming around and going, oh, wait a minute, Katie's kind of the only one that I'm getting now. Maybe what the mainstream media said about her being a monster, maybe that isn't quite correct. Maybe she's actually just trying to stand up for us all along. So, and I had somebody in your audience asking about my shirt. So it says, don't use my Israeli army voice. I was doing radio this morning, and there's a host that I've been particularly harsh to. So I was just intimidating with my shirt. But someone else is asking what I think of Meghan and Harry. I just say to you as Americans, you know, thank you very much for that. Really, you export some really great stuff. Like we buy 37 billion of cars from you. We buy steel from you. You're really great at oil and gas. Thank you ever such a lot. But why the hell did you have to export Meghan Markle to me? And Prince Harry used to be my favorite prince, right? He's a brilliant prince. I mean, apart from being India, but he used to be in the army. He used to fly helicopters, turn up in camouflage gear. He used to be in Vegas with like a bevy of beauties balanced on his ball. Sorry for that. And he used to turn up dressed as a Nazi. He was like, yeah, rock and roll prince. Right. Now he's about as interesting as my mother-in-law, and she's dead.
Oh. Yes. No, but I made a comment. I probably got me in trouble a little bit on Twitter, but I said, I don't know one happy leftist woman. I really don't. They're always angry about something. They're always unhappy about something. Either they're the victim of something, or they believe everyone else is a victim and they're the ones that are championing some cause, some leftist cause, but they're never happy. Like
that's right.
Ever.
That's right. They're right. Some of your listeners are also saying Katie's internet's a bit choppy. She's a bit fuzzy. And then someone put, well, that's typical of UK internet. Guys, I'm sat here in Colorado. I'm in the in Colorado, in America. Have you worked out yet? I'm in America. I'm here. This is your internet we're using.
In America. Well, actually, in Colorado, we're experiencing it's a light snowfall, late March, but maybe that's what's causing some of the glitchiness.
More, yes, okay. We haven't got perfect Wi-Fi, but I tell you what, I left my home, spent 25 days in Mexico City to break into your country, and now I'm here talking to you. If your biggest problem that my Wi-Fi is a little bit thing, maybe go and do something else. If that's all you're saying, join the conversation. Maybe join the fight for your country, but don't be moaning about the Wi-Fi and trying to pretend like it's a British issue when I'm in your country. Thanks.
Oh, goodness me, I like it. Fiery. So a lot of I have a large like mom and dad kind of following. I want to ask you, like, where do you draw that like you don't care? Like, I mean, not like you don't care. Like a lot of people want that. I want to be liked, and I want people to, I want to have friends. And then there's people like you that are just like next level, like me or not, I'm saying what I'm saying. I believe what I believe. Where does that come from? Have you always been like that? Or did something happen in your childhood that made you like, I don't care? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, isn't it? I think I went to a Catholic all-girls school. I was brought up by nuns.
Okay.
They used to keep a lot of stuff in. I'm left-handed, as you can probably tell from the way I am. Yeah. And it was ungodly to use your left hand, so I had it tied up behind my back. And then in later life, many people will know I was epileptic. It was the reason I had to be discharged from the British Army, which is always signed up to serve 35 years. So I'm epileptic. So I have my personal battle, which I always kept private, with epilepsy. Mm-hmm. And I think I've learned to fight things alone and privately. And it gave me kind of a confidence in myself. And I think being liked is hugely overrated. And I think having lots of friends is something people try to sell her. Like, who else have you got?
Right.
Just someone clicking on a button. My personal view is to anybody out there is you only need a handful of friends, or even just a couple. And those people who know you best, love you best of all. And it is to them that you can answer to. And occasionally it's my husband that says to me, "Love, stop that. That's completely unreasonable, or love,
Yeah.
you need to think about this. So I listened to my husband. My husband's probably the star of this piece, to be fair. He's the hero of the piece. A, for putting up with me, for supporting me and my family, and looking after my children while I'm on the road. But the truth of it is, I've learned that by not needing to be liked, I'm loved by the people that matter to me, and those are I'm going to get emotional, and those are patriots in America that we will join together with. So yeah, I think you have to sacrifice being liked to tell your authentic truth.
Right.
And it's why you have to be banned from so many. I'm on the Fox ban list because somebody like me you're not allowed to say the things I say.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, every great person throughout history was controversial. Anybody that, if you have everybody liking you, you're doing it wrong. If you're not upsetting somebody, then you're not standing for anything. If you're not offending somebody, then you have no backbone to anything. I think about, we're coming up with, Easter coming up here this Sunday. And, just a couple days ago was Palm Sunday, and they were, oh, Jesus, and oh, we love you. And then literally like a week later, they're hanging him on a cross because he said stuff that offended the masses. He offended people, and they hung him. And it's because he was speaking the truth, right? The truth offends. And I think a lot of people are afraid to speak the truth because they don't want to offend anybody. They want everybody to be their friend. But then at the end of the day, you live, you die, and nobody really knows who you were or what you stood for because you didn't stand for anything.
I think that's so true. I think my country, the truth is now an arrestable offence. So the last time I was arrested was for speaking out about the majority Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs who rape our young white girls. Because I spoke of this, the police came to my home and arrested me in front of my children. And none of what I said was factually incorrect. It's just that now truth is hate speech, and therefore it's a policeable event. So for me in my country, it's a kind of different thing about speaking out. Speaking my truth costs me my freedom very often, or certainly interviews in police stations or the threats of prison. I also think, one of the ways we hurt ourselves most, and this goes back to what we were talking about, holding the line earlier, Jesus kind of said, and you, and you too, when he was let down by his closest friends. And that's something I think is sometimes the things that because people think, oh, well, you're badass, so you've got a thick skin. Not at all. The things that I feel emotion, just anything will make me cry. Being welcomed to America breaks me. It's my whole heart. But it's when you're let down by people on your own side that actually hurts a lot. I expect to be attacked by Democrats or leftists or Black Lives Matter, but it's when you're hurt by your own side or let down, that's when it really hurts. And I suppose the thing is, I don't just sit in, and it's always my challenge to others, I don't just sit in my comfy lounge in my pajamas saying offensive things.
Right.
So I spent 3 months in South Africa living on the white farmers' land, so I could see the slaughter of the whites. I went to DC to show that it wasn't a war zone, it was just a contrivance. I have been in migrant camps and had my arms dislocated for me. As a result, I disagree with people putting on weight because we have socialized healthcare. So I put on 50 pounds in 3 months and lost it again in 3 months to prove that you can own your own issues. What I'm trying to say is I try and be authentic to my truths.
Right. You're not just, preaching it, you're walking it out, you're experiencing it, you're living it. And I think that, a lot, especially, the big top speakers, I like to see them, down in the grassroots, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing what we got to do to move the needle. So
wouldn't that be the great thing if some of these $50,000 bookings actually schlepped out to the grassroots? That would be a great thing indeed. Yes.
And see, and that's something I think that people identified with Trump with, even though he's this billionaire, like he had the ability to relate to just that blue collar worker. And I think we need more of that. We need more of those people in leadership, that conservatives in leadership just relating to the people that are actually experiencing, all of these policies that are being implemented, this legislation that's being implemented. Like, we're the ones that are really hurt. Like, you take away our guns, we're the ones that hurt. You guys still have your bodyguards, whether you're left or right, it's us. And so if we had more people coming down and checking in with us on what we really think, that would be great.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's why, the Lauren Boberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the reason they're sort of lighting things up is because you can hear yourself. You can hear a mother, you can hear someone who's had to clean a bathroom and get the toothpaste lid on or get a toilet roll on before gone out. This is our truth. We're not pretty or perfect. We've got a whole load of rubbish going on all the time, but we're just trying to do our best that day. Somebody on here just put, Katie's got broken teeth. I don't. I have terrible teeth. It's one of the reasons it's one of the reasons, even for a little bit there, I like the mask mandate, because I was like, this is great. I can show my teeth. And I tell you something happens to me at functions. Someone will say, Katie, come here. I need you to meet this guy. And they'll be like, he's a dentist. And it's like, yeah. And then the other thing, someone does, Katie, come here. I need you to meet this guy. He's a plastic surgeon. It's quite rude.
No, stop it. You're beautiful and you're fit. And I wanted to mention your arms, because I know you do something called Katie's Arms. Are you Pilates, yoga? What is it?
No. So the Katie's Arms. So people have a bit of a thing about my arm muscles. Okay. And so I created, because the UK, no one's allowed to go anywhere. You're not allowed out. You're only allowed to go to the store once on your own. I created a pub. Pubs are usually called the King's Arms or the Queen's Arms. I don't know if you have that. So I created the Katie's Arms, and it's half an hour a week. Anyone can join me, and we just laugh. Basically, it's just me doing stand up for half an hour. We just laugh at everything. Mostly
I love it.
So that's what the Katie's Arms is. But the fitness thing was because when I got locked down, I decided, right, we're going to need to get strong in order to endure, in order to prevail. So I started kind of beasting myself a bit so that physically I could demonstrate that I'm not going to be weakened by your lockdown. I'm going to build myself. And so I guess in the same way that I put on weight to show that if you want to, you could lose it, I've now created a bit of a monster to show that we're building strength. And it frightens men, to be honest. When they see me,
I love it. I mean, I was like watching one of your, I think it was one of your Katie's Arms, and I was like, geez, what is she doing? I was like, I need to do some. But I've been doing push-ups. Like, once this whole COVID thing started, I was like, all right, I'm going to start push-ups, and I can do several in a row now. But I started with but I was like, I'm going to. So you got me on the arm thing, though. I'm highly impressed.
Do push-ups and pull-ups. But I mean, it isn't really about that. It's just really about, me building me to be as tough as I can be. And when the time comes and I'm needed, I'm ready and I'm good to go. So it's just about feeling okay about myself, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. And I feel like we need to be ready. I don't know why. I have like this readiness, like, okay, at any point, whatever I'm needed for, I'm ready. Like, let's go. So I'm feeling that too.
Oh, do it. And that's the way I go about the place as well. Like, not in an overtly aggressive way. I mean, if someone falls over, I'll be there to pick you up. Or if something happened in a store and I was there, I'm going to sort that out. I was in a store the other day here in America, and a lady walked in and she was so rude. I was at a post office, and she was aggressive to the person behind the counter. She was complaining. And this is the effect of lockdown. Lockdown has made people very unkind. Angry. I understand, but I got what I was doing. I turned to the lady, took my mask off. I'm in a store, and I said, "Look, I'm very sorry, but if you're going to continue to be rude to the lady, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store." And she left the store.
Nice.
It's not aggressive. It's not intimidating. No. It's just trying to ask people to think about how they're being with other people, and I want to be part of making that every day better in some way. Yeah,
I love it. Well, I've taken up quite longer than I told you I would. I'm so sorry. I could talk to you for a lot longer. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Any final words? Anything encouraging Because I know a lot of people are like, they need that right now. And I think that you're the perfect person to say something that would just lift their spirit. So.
Oh, well, first off, to thank you for what you're doing. You probably don't get thanked as much as you should. But somebody like you who's got little children of your own, I'm sure you've got a whole world of stuff you could be doing. You're helping keep people together. And every time there's 100 or 1,000 people who feel better. So you matter. To the people who support you, people often ask, what can I do? People like us, if we're the arrowhead, we need people helping to keep us in flight. Yeah. And that's what every one of your good audience does for you. And as I can say, as a respectful foreigner, this is still, it feels dark, but this is still a land that is unlike any other on the planet. You have your faith, and the churches are building and are stronger than ever before. You have your family, and you won't let anyone come near them because you have your Second Amendment. And you still have your freedom, because with the Constitution, which is the greatest document ever written, it is hardwired into your soul. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for listening to me. If you want to come and hear me somewhere, my name's Katie Hopkins. Google it. Don't look at the bad pictures or nasty stories. Most of them are true, but
a lot of them are lies. A lot of them are lies, and that's something, because people will Google, oh, Rachel, she talked to Katie Hopkins. What? A lot of it's lies. A lot of it is lies, and don't believe the lies. That's the thing. And they immediately try to pin people like, oh, you're that person, or you're this person, or put you in that group. And then, we don't have to listen to you. But that right there means you need to listen. If they categorize somebody immediately, that means you need to go deeper and find out who they're really about, who they really are. Okay. So
exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all your lovely, I'm looking which side is the comment section on this side, this side. Anyway, our audience, because without our audiences, we have no voice.
That's so true. Thank you. Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, you guys, that is Katie Hopkins. What a blessing that was. I'm just so thrilled to have her on. I thank you guys for tuning in. She's going to be in Colorado for a while, so you can just Google Katie Hopkins events, Colorado. If you're in Colorado, check her out. I'm so thankful for you guys. We just got to encourage each other. And I think that's a great message, just encouraging one another, and know that you're not alone. So it might look a little dark, but you're not alone. And that's so important to understand. So God bless you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, guys.